So Michael Popok, Legal AF. I want to focus on the likelihood that Judge Aileen Cannon in Florida is going to gut and dismiss the Mar-a-Lago criminal prosecution against Donald Trump for violations of the Espionage Act and obstruction of justice. It has become increasingly clear that she is on the precipice of making a decision that'll be earth-shattering in the dismissal of the entire case based on the immunity decision that was just rendered by the United States Supreme Court. Now, on its face, the immunity decision, a self-respecting judge would be able to find a way to have that prosecution against Donald Trump for all the things he did wrong at Mar-a-Lago, to hide top secret and classified documents, to keep national defense information documents away from the Department of Justice, to hide them from his own lawyer, to obstruct justice by attempting to destroy the video evidence of his conspiracy. A self-respecting judge, following carefully the Supreme Court decision, would keep that indictment primarily intact. But as I am fearful that in the hands of Aileen Cannon, what she's going to do is she's going to do the following magic trick. She's going to say that all of the decisions about which documents to take and which documents to leave behind were made by Donald Trump while he was still president of the United States. And taking language from the Supreme Court decision, penned by Chief Justice Roberts, in which he outlined the core presidential duties, including the power to conduct foreign policy, the power to appoint cabinet members and members of agencies, the power to grant pardons, the power to enter into foreign treaties. All of these things are giant buckets that Aileen Cannon can then shove the documents that Donald Trump took with him that relate to the core presidential powers of foreign policy, of military commander-in-chief, of negotiations with foreign powers, with appointments of agencies, with pardon power. She can neatly put all of the allegations of the indictment about the 38 or so top secret classified documents that he kept, and say that all of those came out of official conduct or core presidential conduct that enjoy absolute immunity. You can't inquire as to motive, why he took the things. You can't inquire as to anything in trying to prove the case. And since she's going to, and this is my realistic fear in managing expectations, she's going to say that since all of the bad conduct, the decision by sticky fingers Donald Trump to hide these documents in his boxes and take them with him, whether he declassified them or not, were all done under the mantle of his hat of doing official or core presidential conduct. Therefore, under Trump versus United States, the new Supreme Court decision dropped on July 1, she will find that everything that Donald Trump did is not examinable, is not prosecutable while he was in the White House. Yes, there was conduct that happened in Mar-a-Lago, but that is all after he left the White House, having left the White House through January 20th at 11:59 a.m. with his immunity intact. So the argument is that while he was totally immune, you can't prosecute him for things he did in the White House, and the documents he took with him are the evidence of official conduct, and therefore, as we said recently on a Legal AF episode, the fruit of a poisonous tree, that's a doctrine in criminal law, that if the evidence is clean, but it came from a dirty source, it can be suppressed or precluded or barred from being used at trial because it is the fruit of the poisonous tree, okay? And so that's the argument, that because everything about the documents and their genesis, their retention, their original retention, the decision to take it out the door happened while he was still president. Trump was still president. Trump is going to say, I am completely immune. The Supreme Court also said you can't look at my motive, and you can almost never get over the hurdle of once I establish that it's official conduct or core presidential conduct that automatically gets absolute immunity. And he's going to say all these documents relate to my powers to make treaties, my foreign relationship, exclusive jurisdiction in that area, my pardon power, my commander-in-chief power. And so we don't have to worry about declassification or classification, which is what we thought we were talking about under the Classified Information and Procedures Act, that's what this case was, a SIPA case. No longer. It's did all of the bad things and the initial decision to retain these documents done under official/core presidential conduct? If the answer to that is yes, then nothing that happens after he left the White House and took the stuff with him can be the basis of a prosecutable crime, because the decision by Judge Roberts in the 6-3 decision of the Supreme Court is that you can't even use that evidence of official conduct to prove the crime and try to show that it was unofficial. Because in order to prosecute the crime, you got to show that either it does not enjoy immunity and or it falls into this narrow category, which is almost unattainable, that something is unofficial conduct. After you're done stretching official conduct out to its furthest extreme boundaries. That's what the court says you got to do. The outer edges and limits of official conduct. And then you got to go through the 7 categories of core presidential conduct outlined in the United States Supreme Court, in the United States Constitution, I mean. And once you're done there, maybe there's this small subcategory. But even then, the Supreme Court said, not so fast. We're going to tie 2 of your arms back behind you and 1 of your legs, and you can hop up and down in court on 1 leg. And here's how you're going to have to prove your unofficial conduct that's prosecutable. No evidence from the official conduct world, none. And that's one. And secondly, you're not going to be able to bring in. So the evidence issue is really important, and anything that stems from that evidence is going to be barred under this doctrine I just told you of the fruit of a poisonous tree. And so, if this decision in the hands of Aileen Cannon will go one of 2 ways. She's going to find that all the bad conduct that's being argued about really happened in the timeline back in the White House when Donald Trump was president, and not at Mar-a-Lago. And yes, he did bad things at Mar-a-Lago, but he can't be accused of covering up official conduct for which he can't be prosecuted. So the cover-up and the obstruction count would fall away. He can't violate Classified Information Procedures Act, even though he did, because that's under his official conduct while he was immune. Yes, he did certain narrow things at Mar-a-Lago, but if it's related to the core or official presidential functions, she's going to find it can't be prosecuted and you can't use it as evidence over here. So we like to say there was a bright line between the White House activity and the Mar-a-Lago activity, but there really wasn't, if you think about it, in the great timeline. Donald Trump started negotiating with the National Archive before he left the presidency with another band of lawyers. He then made whatever decision he made to stuff whatever boxes he had with whatever he put in there, including top secret classified documents. And then he decamped for Mar-a-Lago. So you see where the problem is for Judge Aileen Cannon. So she's got 2 ways to completely gut and end. It's almost, at this point, it's almost like a mercy killing, because she's never going to try this case. She's yet to set the case for trial. She's yet to decide on any major motions related to anything. She's found a way to avoid having her bosses at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals weigh in because they haven't gotten any orders. She does everything by quote unquote paperless orders. I mean, in her tombstone, when she finally passes, it's going to say, "Here lies Aileen Cannon by paperless order." I mean, that is her claim to fame. And so it's almost like a mercy killing, but she's got 2 ways to do it. She's got 2 bullets. 1, what I just outlined. And 2, she takes the bait and she makes an initial ruling that Jack Smith and the Special Counsel's office itself is illegitimate. Why? Because Clarence Thomas says it was. Because Clarence Thomas, in his concurrence to the majority opinion, said, "I don't even understand how Jack Smith is even standing here as an appropriate party. He wasn't properly appointed. He wasn't appointed or confirmed by Congress. Where did he come from? He's just a citizen. He's just a stranger to these proceedings. And his entire indictment should be dismissed. He's not the right kind of prosecutor. That, of course, throws away dozens of years of Department of Justice rules, regulations, ultimately approved by Congress, about the creation of the Special Counsel in the wake of the elimination of the independent counsel position back in the 90s. The Department of Justice has always set up independent prosecutors and special prosecutors since Watergate's time, since before Watergate's time. And I would argue that the majority decision, even in Trump versus the United States on July 1, implicitly endorses the legitimacy of a special counsel named Jack Smith. But she'll say, I agree with the concurrence with Clarence Thomas. And that gives her a second way. This is like bowling. You know, if the first ball leaves her with 2 pins, she's got a way to pick up the spare constitutionally by then saying, oh, and by the way, Jack Smith is illegitimate and therefore the entire indictment should be dismissed on that ground alone. And then it's out of her hands. She can do whatever she wants with the 2 co-conspirators. If she finds it was Jack Smith's improper, she knocks those pins over also. And then it's up on a delay with briefing over several months at the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals, where it will die or they'll make a ruling against her, but it'll be in November or December. And if Donald Trump wins the presidency, the first thing he does on day one, moment one, is disband the special counsel's office and order his attorney general, fill in the blank, Jeff Clark, Rudy Giuliani, Alina Habba, or whomever, to dismiss the prosecutions against him. That's what you're voting for. But I want to start managing expectations now about the impact of that immunity decision on Mar-a-Lago, because I think that one is beyond on life support. It's on its deathbed with last rites. And we'll continue to follow it right here on the MeidasTouch Network and on Legal AF, calling it the way we see it. Nobody censors me or us. We're unfiltered. We're unplugged, sometimes unhinged in our defense of democracy, but calling it straight for you the way we know how as practicing lawyers. Follow me on Legal AF on Wednesdays and Saturdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And then if you want to watch us on this YouTube channel for MeidasTouch, free subscribe. That'll help get us to 3 million. We're building this network with our bare hands, brick by brick. With your help, we're an independent, no outside investors network. We are the network you've been waiting for. We are the change that you've been waiting for, as Barack Obama would say. And then on audio podcast platforms, wherever you get them, look us up under Legal AF. So until my next hot take, until my next Legal AF, this is Michael Popok reporting.
Hey Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.